Hello and welcome to another episode of TLC Unfiltered. My name is Emmanuel Sonubi.
And my name's Ian Murphy.
And today's episode is called I Hope This Podcast Finds You Well.
With Helen Robb. Helen,
Gentlemen,
how are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing today, Ian?
Very good. Super. Welcome.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time to pop down. Now, what we like to do at the very beginning is give people a view of who we're talking to, but we don't like bios or anything like that. So I normally come up with 3 facts about our guests.
I like the way you call them facts.
Yeah, you don't know me well enough.
It's the loosest term of the word facts.
Okay.
It's the loosest term of the word facts, right?
All right.
So, 3 things that I know about you, potentially made up, right?
Potentially.
Apart from the first one.
Okay.
Kick-ass CISO.
Okay,
Yeah?
I'll go with that.
Okay.
I prefer badass, but fine.
Badass? We'll go with badass.
You can't say that with your accent.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you sound like you're ordering an Indian.
Yeah.
I'll have a badass, please.
Gonna get an Amber with that. Second fact, you speak Dutch. Is that right?
I speak Afrikaans, but a little bit,
Okay,
yes.
okay. Well, is that the same thing? Am I just being...
Oh, no.
Okay, right. Am I just being colonial there?
A little bit.
Have I just made it
little bit,
worse?
but it's okay. You're rocking that stereotype.
Yeah.
Go for it, Ian.
And in the final one, you were born in Zimbabwe?
Correct.
Correct. And you used to date Bruce Grobbelaar?
In my dreams, sure.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know who Bruce is, he was a Liverpool goalkeeper. And he came from Zimbabwe. He's the only other Zimbabwean I know, well, apart from...
No, I'm Nigerian.
No, Robert Mugabe.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. I was like, no.
Yeah, I'm getting cancelled after this segment. That's exactly what's happening.
That's basically what this whole started. That's how it started this week. So, you speak Dutch, don't you? South African? Oh, it's all the same. It's not. It's not.
Well, it's been nice being on the podcast for 2 episodes before I've got cancelled. So listen, what we'd like then is a fact from you, Helen. Something that people may not know about you.
A fact.
Yeah. Again,
Like yours.
Loosest term of the word.
Okay. I guess very few people know this about me. My first job or first qualified job, I was a fireman.
Oh?
Is that a lie? Because I'm really gullible and I want to believe it
No.
because you've got honest eyes.
No, it's not a lie.
You're a fireman?
I was. It's been a very long time since I...
Here?
Oh,
or-
no, God, no. Way back in South Africa.
Right, okay.
In my early 20s.
What's the scariest thing you've had to run into?
The scariest thing I've had to run into.
Yeah.
A warehouse that had fireworks.
As they were going off in a fire.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh my God, they've got too many deals.
And they didn't have many, but yeah. I mean, that was probably the most exciting, if you want to put it that way. But I did see some things, and it's one of the reasons why I didn't take it much further than 3 years in.
3 years.
Yeah, you have to. I respect and admire the people who work in emergency services because you do deal with things that, honestly, over an extended period of time, I didn't have the strength to deal with it. It was
You are
heartbreaking.
so much nicer than the pair of us. We are scum.
Honestly, I'd have not gone anywhere near I nearly killed my son with a firework.
Okay.
I was setting fireworks off, and the box fell over, and it just started rotating round, and my niece and my son were there, and it just whizzed past their head. It's like, don't let me anywhere near anything.
Parenting 101. How old is your son?
9 or 10, I think, at the time. So it would have been a proper... I mean,
So
he's 20 now.
does Scott
Kind of take it or leave it now,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Worst
Right.
birthday party ever.
There you go. So that's the one thing that most people don't know about me.
I'm impressed.
Only those
I'm
close to me do.
genuinely impressed.
Thank you.
You're right, just because of the emergency services things,
Yeah.
and what fire bobbies have to go through.
Fire bobbies.
Yes.
Awesome. You're not deprecating at all.
No. It's how they're known in Liverpool.
Okay.
We spoke about the busies last week. That's how the police are known in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And
Fire
people.
bobbies.
Fire bobbies,
I did
yeah.
not know that. Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
So there must have been quite a lot of transferable skills then, like from a mental point of view, from going from that to the kind of roles that you do now.
I've never really thought about it, but I would say certainly on the resilience side of things,
Yeah.
yes, most definitely. Certainly not on the fitness. That was the fittest I've ever been. I'm not as fit as that anymore, definitely not. But definitely the resilience, yeah. And the ability to be able to step back from a situation that's highly volatile and respond as opposed to react. You're trained how to respond in situations, whereas a lot of people emotionally react very quickly. Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Unbelievable. And I think from what we're thinking of with this episode is actually to dive into a day in the life of you, but a day in the life of your inbox, right? In terms of you have a CISO role, you have a CISO
Sorry,
title.
after what Manny said.
You see, I'm trying to keep this professional.
I had nothing to do with that
I'm
one.
working with children and amateurs.
Yes,
That's what I'm working
okay, a
with.
day in the life of my inbox.
Your accent makes everything sound dirty.
But you like it that way?
I do. I really, I'm not gonna lie, I really do. A day in the life of your inbox.
Sure, it's not very exciting being a single woman, but sure, go ahead.
So, with you being head of security, right? So we'll get to the C bit in it.
Sure.
Whether that's a chief or whether that's head of security. You are a target. You're a target for just spurious sales, right? And what we
Correct.
don't want this to be is a sales battering conversation.
No.
Because sales have a job to do as well.
Agree, and I'd prefer not to.
Exactly.
Go down that road.
And also what we don't want it to be is a sales 101 training exercise.
I have no idea how to do that, but yeah. Agreed.
But I think if people understand the types of things that you get hit with on a daily basis, then maybe from that they can glean a way of maybe how not to do it. So talk us through an average day of you getting into work, opening up your email, and then what's in there.
Okay, so this is my work email, right? It assumes we only have one email account.
Oh,
which
yeah.
most of us don't.
We do not want to know what's in your personal email.
Really?
Well,
That's not what
Manny,
you said
do
last
you?
night.
Yeah, no,
But okay,
100%.
that's fine.
I do.
Yeah,
But no,
you
I
do.
Manny
really
offline,
do.
that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll take that up. Right, on average, by the end of the day, so it'll start even before 8:30. They'll start coming in. By midday, I've normally had, on average, 5 sales emails. Various solutions coming at me. I've had a number of recruitment emails. Even though I've been clear that we have a talent acquisition team in-house and that we have a no agency policy, I still will get bombarded with those. A number of polite requests to do talks, panel talks, keynotes, that sort of thing. And then there's the usual everybody demanding a piece of your time because of who you are and the decisions that you're responsible for, right? So I'd say on average, and I'm lucky compared to some of my peers, I'd say about 30, 40 emails a day. All right, and then you're having to go through them. Some of those sales emails will probably be first repeats, 6. I've had one who 9 attempts in.
Same email.
Same person, same sort of email. After the 9th, I blocked. I should do it earlier. I really should, but yeah, they get more tenacious and they get more assertive in their narrative sometimes I do it just to see what's coming back at me. By the 9th email, what is this individual going to say to me? I'm shouting into an abyss. I feel like you're not hearing me.
That's the thing, because you wouldn't act like that in any other football. Like if this was like the dating process and you'd emailed or text somebody 9 times without response and you still text them, you got issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're coming across as very needy, but at the same
Oh,
time,
crazy.
it does border on harassment sometimes. I'll be honest, some of those emails do, and I have responded once or twice to people saying, okay, you've reached the point where this is bordering on harassment.
Yeah.
Is this your intention? If not, you really need to step back from this because it's getting quite unpleasant. And
Well,
then not hear from them again.
On the other side of it, there's somebody pushing them to do that, right?
Yeah.
Generally, there's a quota, a sales number,
KPIs.
all of that stuff. How many meetings have you got? How many calls have you made, and things like that. So it's kind of how do we break the back of that? Because within any industry, I would imagine, I don't think it's just specific to being in security or being
No,
in sales or
Well,
anything
do
like
you know
that.
what? I don't know if you can, because the problem that you've got is the people that set these KPIs, from their perspective, they're going, us doing that works because we hit targets and we make money. So let's not change the process. And it justifies for them, to their bosses or higher up, that they are managing the team. Look how great my team is doing because they're doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, but I'm not a target, I'm a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a human being behind all of that metric. And the challenge I have is, I have to remember that these individuals are exactly, party to that, whether by choice or not. They have this constraint around them. And I have to take my responsibility in this relationship and not be rude. Sometimes it's hard, you're just going to catch me on an off day and I'm just going to be inadvertently rude and hostile. It's never the intention.
That's human, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, that whole approach to just treating this, and I'm going to call it a relationship because it's the only word I can find at this point, but it's not a relationship. That's where the sales get successful with me, is the relationship aspect. But that's not going to happen overnight.
No.
All right, that's also not going to happen through my email because my attention span is limited. I'm having to deal with this sheer volume of stuff coming through just on my work email. Let's not even talk about the rest of the digital noise.
I was going to ask, because you think the external email is only one facet. You've then got all the requests from people internally.
Yep. Let's not forget LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right. They don't just come. These don't just come at me in the work email. They come at me in LinkedIn. There are people who've sent me WhatsApp messages. I mean, I've attended conferences and the like. My telephone number is out there. I know it is. It's why I never take calls from unknown numbers. It just doesn't happen. I wouldn't have a life if that was the case. And it's now gotten to the point where I will, if I'm arranging something with people, I tell them they have to text me in advance so I know it's them calling me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I won't pick up the phone. This is how we get driven into certain behaviours these days, just so we can maintain the sheer volume and overload.
But I reckon we can bring a bit of fun to it, though.
Go for it.
So during lockdown, I came up with a game, Spam Folder Bingo.
Okay.
I think we can do it for CISOs as well. We will have a bunch of bingo cards made up, all with different topics, all with different buzzwords from the salespeople.
Right.
And then you've got to tick them off when you get them on a daily basis.
I like
and then
it.
there'll be a weekly prize for CISOs, right?
That'd be quite fun.
You get things like holistic or synergistic or 100% secure.
Oh, I love that one. That's my
military
favourite.
grade.
I hope this email finds you well.
Oh, nobody's...
No,
I've never understood that one. I
love-
hope this email finds you well.
Really?
What does it mean?
Well,
you sent the email. Where were you expecting it to go? Never understood that.
Have you had coffee this morning?
Do you know what? I get very pedantic about grammar and things like that.
got
and that's
it.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
It's things like that.
I got it during pandemic because then it was contextual as far as I was concerned. It's probably the only time it has been. I was going to say now you've segued, so because you were rather passionate about that.
Very upset about it. I hope this
See, you
email
held that
finds you
so
well.
right. Wow.
No, it didn't.
Did you ever do that? Did you ever?
No.
Just go,
So there was certain things that I couldn't bring myself to do because they upset me so very much.
Okay.
One of them was when they say, "I just wanted to check." You are doing that. You didn't just want to do it. You are doing that. Just wanted to check that we're still on for tomorrow. What do you mean you just wanted to check?
Speaking of
So then
that,
just check.
the blind invites. The blind, right, when
I
salespeople...
generally thought you meant something else.
No, okay. You make my life sound exciting when you say that. I wish it was. When a salesperson books a meeting without having consulted with you, that's also one of my favorites, right? Because suddenly there's something that's just appeared in my diary and it obviously hasn't been accepted because I didn't even know it had come through. And I've actually had that situation where somebody has turned up in the reception area with two other people from the company saying, and reception called me going, such and such is in reception. Who are these people? Why? And in my diary is this unaccepted invite.
But I'd make them wait. So I'd make them think that you're going to have the meeting.
Yeah.
Then if that's the case, if they turn up to waste your time, waste theirs. So to get the receptionist to turn up, Helen will be down in a minute. She's just finishing a call. 40 minutes later, this call's gone on a little bit more. See how long you can leave them there before they break.
I've done that
think
as a bouncer.
Yeah.
I used to be a bouncer, and when you get people that are really, really drunk trying to get in the club, arguing with them it's got 0 point. They're not listening.
Yeah.
So
Can
we would
see
just
that.
have them stand there, say, "Just give it 5 minutes. We're going to call the manager. He's going to let you in. Just wait there 5 minutes." And we would sit there and just see how long they stay there for. And we had one guy stay there the whole night. And then
Did you pass out?
he was there till the club shut at like 2 a.m, and he stood there the whole way. And everyone came out like, "I don't know what it is, but we're closed now."
I don't know that I could do that.
It's a lot of fun. Try it.
I
Just
just
do it.
went down and said, I didn't accept it. I don't know why you're here. And they were, obviously, they hadn't done the invite. Somebody on the sales team had done the invite for them, but not updated them and it hadn't been accepted. So, okay, I'll remember that. So the next time if somebody does a blind invite, that's my term. Okay, then I'll remember your sage counsel and just keep them hanging on. I don't know that I can do that though. It feels quite rude.
I mean, saying it out loud, I know it feels quite rude. I've done it. It was horrible.
Oh, no.
But that's the thing, because that's where a lot of the appointments come from. Because you'll get a sales company that will engage with like cold calling companies to book the meetings, and that person, because I've had that where I've had a meeting booked for them. We drove all the way from London to Reading, and we get there, and the receptionist was like, "Yeah, he's on holiday." But we were told that it's been confirmed.
Yeah, don't do that, and don't without the courtesy of actually getting in touch with me and me acknowledging that. Don't do that. That is one of the most annoying things. That takes me from just frustrated to really angry, which is unusual for me because I don't really get angry.
But it comes back to relationships, doesn't it?
Yep.
It comes back to building relationships, and no matter what you do in life, whatever it is, actually, if you're human with somebody, you got half a chance. So if somebody were to reach out to you, start building a relationship, and then get to the pitch, right? And you go, listen, we're just not looking for that at the moment. You should be able to then, as an adult, go, that's fine, no problem. If you are when you are, come back to me. I'll leave you alone. You're more than likely going to come back to them at some point then, potentially.
I have some solid relationships with vendors that I've carried with me for 10 years plus, and I trust them. They also don't sell to me.
Yeah.
They know how to work with me. They know what my needs are. They know how to communicate with me, and they also know the kind of person I am. So if they're going to, for example, augment my team when I'm trying to build up from a zero greenfield, they augment with people that they know fit with who I am. And that takes time to build up their trust. But once you're in, you're in. And many of my peers work along the same premise. We want people we trust because at the time, and I mean, Manny, you've said this earlier, if a salesperson comes in and says to me, do you know what, Helen, you're not optimizing your inline. Really, you don't need this.
Yeah.
You've got this already. That's going to engender trust. I'm going to remember him. He may not be thanked for that by his company, but for me, that earns my respect and my trust in equal measure. And I have had salespeople do that.
And now cue the 4,000 messages you're going to get on LinkedIn after this podcast goes out saying, Helen, you don't need our product. And then that'll be the pitch in. More spam. You're welcome.
Yeah, it hadn't occurred to me that this podcast might blow up my LinkedIn, but we'll see. I mean, that's fine. And I've done talks with vendors and their sales teams.
Yeah.
Some of them have asked me to come in and do that. And it's been very well received by the sales teams. And they go, well, how do we get through to you? How do we get through to the CISO? Well, do you need to get through to the CISO? Is the first question.
Do you feel offended sometimes when they do get or try and get through to you with some kind of gimmick or with some kind of offer? I've seen it when I worked in Australia. I saw it that the only way you could get in with certain people is if you took them to RSA in San Francisco or stuff like that.
I'm Ian. I've travelled.
I was a convict.
Every episode. I was in Australia.
I'm a comedian. I've been on live at the Apollo.
Yeah, I have. I'm very talented.
But I have I'm well travelled.
Are you?
In fact, no, not really.
Not to South Africa.
No.
Obviously, because Nigeria, Zimbabwe, what can I tell you?
I've been there once. I've been there twice. I've been to South Africa twice. And I thought it was rough growing up in Liverpool. When you land in Joburg and the taxi driver tells you how many murders there have been that day, I'm like, I'm getting back on the plane. I'm getting back on the plane and going on. I was petrified.
You would have come to Lagos, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, Joburg's not that bad.
Where's that?
Film it.
I know where it is.
If he ever does, please film it.
Yeah.
I want to see that. But going back, do I get offended? Not easily. I'm not easily offended.
All right, let's try this out. So, okay.
Bring. But at the same time, sometimes I get frustrated, depending on the gimmick.
Tell us the latest one.
Okay, and this, I was emotionally conflicted on this one. So a vendor sent me a lockbox. The bit about the whole thing is I got it delivered to the work location. I arrived. I seldom get stuff. I opened it and I thought, what is this? And then, they'd sellotape the instructions on that saying, if you want to know what's in this lockbox, you need to meet with us, sort of thing. I thought, okay. Part of me admires this. It's got my attention. It's not an email, and I've been sprouting on about not doing that. So this is something different, and it's quite targeted as well. And then the really good bit about it is that if you do meet with them, they'll plant 5 trees in your name. I love that whole environmental side of things. So this is where the emotional conflict is coming in. But this lockbox, this is now the psychology of some of these sales tactics is coming to the fore, right? And you'd mentioned FOMO, fear of missing out. Giving me a lockbox and a 3-number combination and saying if I want to know what's in it, I need to call them, that frustrated me and irritated me in equal measure. And I thought, okay, I'm overreacting. So I went and I got, other people's opinions. So I went to some of my peers at the office and I went, this is how I feel about this. Am I overreacting? No, that would irritate the shit out of me. Okay, good, it's not just me. And then I went and gave a box to my techies and I said, here's a challenge for you. This is my situation. Have at it. And they did. They spent about 3 hours and they cracked the combo and that was fine and it's opened.
What was in it?
Sweets.
See, that's a terrible thing to put in there.
That's it, but it got my attention, right? And as a matter of courtesy, I am also speaking to the vendor and letting them know that my team really appreciated the challenge. And that we opened the box. I got a picture, and thank you for the ingenuity and the effort. But there's no point in me speaking with you because,
I wonder what
no
their success rate is, because that's not a cheap
That's
idea.
not a cheap idea. No, I don't think so.
And also, when you said about they were going to plant 5 trees if you have a meeting with them, I hate that. That's on my other list of people that do nice stuff for getting something
It's very
else back.
transactional.
Yeah. If you want to plant 5 trees because you think it's the right thing to do, then plant 5 trees. Don't just do it because, all right, we haven't met, so now I'm not going to contribute.
You're quite angry today.
I really am quite upset
need
about
a
these
couple?
things.
Is that what it is?
There's a few trigger things. There's the grammar, and then there's doing nice things as a transaction. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
You're very passionate about this. aren't you?
Really am.
Yeah.
See me when I do sales.
What would be better to have in there then instead of sweets? That would get your attention.
Something of actual value, I'd say. Either something hilarious or something of actual value. Well, I can go and buy sweets.
Okay.
Tickets to, Twickenham. Rugby
Well,
match.
they probably spent all their money on the boxes, then, we can only afford jelly beans now, because it's like when you go around to all the different vendor spots, like at Expo, any of those, and it's so many jelly beans and stress toys. Put something like decent in there. That's because that's what everyone goes for. They want some decent swag. Don't give me rubbish. I am really upset about this.
You are. This is really interesting for me as the one who's normally on the receiving end of
Right?
things to see somebody else so hit up about it. So that doesn't work. Going back to your CISO bingo, though, I think that's a great idea, by the way.
I've trademarked it, by the way. You're not getting that.
Oh, God.
You're not. I've trademarked it.
It is
It's mine.
definitely a way to pass the time. I'll tell you something that I used to do when I was trying to get through to people. I'd give them something. My philosophy was everyone's calling that one person trying to get something.
Yeah.
So if I'm that one person giving them something, it's more likely that I'd be remembered.
Is it unconditional?
Yeah, so because it wouldn't benefit me at all. So there's,
Okay.
I used to like trawl things. So just for any sort of information. So if I saw, so for example, you can ping an email server and find out where their MX records are pointed to, and because I knew about the vendors. So if there was something, say for example, it pointed to Symantec. And I'd see, I know some information about something that's coming up with Symantec, maybe a change internally. I would just literally either phone or email that person, just let them know that this is happening.
Yeah.
If you need any more information, let me know. And I'd leave it at that.
Okay, that's interesting. So I know we're jumping ahead here because we're going to talk about horror stories, but what that raises for me was the time that some vendors run these passive scans, right, and then send you an email under the lovely guise of being an ethical individual.
Yeah.
And we absolutely respect responsible disclosure. It's key. This is how we should be treating each other in this industry. But when those come at me, I have to take them seriously. And then I get my teams to review, come back to me, give me the feedback. I will always contact the individual in question as a matter of courtesy and say, thank you very much for that, I appreciate it. My teams looked into it, and this is what we've done to remediate, or this is what our results are. Thank you, and again, but we won't be doing business with you. What I didn't expect was for that courtesy to then be so poorly received, the individual in question bypassed me and went to my CEO, right? We contacted your CISO, we gave her all the evidence, she responded back to us, we beg to differ. We think that she's not taking this seriously enough. So that went straight to my CEO, who came straight to me. And literally his statement was, do your worst. Because he knew.
Nice.
Yeah.
So he has my trust, which is, takes time to earn. I have his respect, clearly, and I'm very grateful to him for that. He's a wonderful CEO. And then he trusts me to be able to deal with it. He didn't question me. He just came back to me with a simple statement, do your worst. I was furious. Unusually angry for me. I was absolutely livid. And this was during lockdown, April 20, our first tranche of lockdown. So, I had my rant in my kitchen, and my mother, who lives with me, witnessed that unfolding and just let me carry on about it. It took me 3 days before I could be trusted to actually have a conversation with this person without being just acerbic and vicious. 3 days to process it. And then I sent him an email saying, this had come through to my CEO, I'd like to have a call with you. And he very happily set it up, and we had the call. And I said to him, right, this call is not going to go the way you think it's going to go.
I bet he was really happy for when he got the email.
Yeah,
It worked. That'll show us. Ready for this call now.
And so I was, clear with him. I asked him, how long have you been in the country? He had an accent. I'm not going to expand on that. So he wasn't from the UK. And culturally, I can understand how people in authoritative positions in his culture have the say. And I get that. And he was young. He's 23 years old. He'd only been in the UK 6 months. Obviously didn't know the lay of the land, right? And I said to him, you never do this. First of all, we speak amongst ourselves as peers, right? We know who we will and will not deal with. And if you are unprofessional, discourteous, or even just outright this in our industry, you won't be trusted, and we'll share that amongst ourselves. We do that as CISOs and heads of security. And I said to him, so this is my guidance to you. It's not a threat, it's not a warning. This kind of behavior here is not going to do you any favors. Don't do it. You have completely invalidated me, and you've gone straight through to my CEO and compromised me. I said to him, how did you think that would work? How did you think that would make me want to do business with you if you compromised me with my own CEO?
I'm intrigued. Did he give you an indication whether it was his own idea or somebody else suggested
He didn't. He listened. I'll give him credit, right? And my mom was hiding behind the kitchen door. I didn't know because she'd seen me rage for 3 days. So she was curious to see how this was going to play out. And I was civil. And he listened, and he took everything I'd said on board, and he thanked me for the call. And then the following day, he sent me an email thanking me for taking the time to speak to him, for putting him on the straight and narrow. And he apologized profusely for having compromised me on my CEO. But no, he didn't allude to anything else in that regard.
You said an interesting thing there about that network, about that CISO network.
Yes.
And I suppose the same for any executive level. They have that network, and they talk amongst each other, and they offer the good and the bad stories. I just wonder how some of the more well-known security vendors who are quite pushy, who are quite forthright, how they still continue to do that type of business, especially if CISOs are talking amongst each other. Surely that becomes a zero-sum game.
It is a zero-sum game, and sometimes, as I've had to point out to certain individuals, I'm already a client of yours. Why are 3 different? There is one vendor. I think they have probably the most tenacious sales force on the planet.
Which one? Don't do it.
Based over. I can tell you where they're
I can have a
based.
good stab at it.
I can tell you where they're based, but in And they have
Ding,
just
dot, yeah.
all the time. And it's just, how many of you do you pop up like mushrooms overnight?
Sure, that comes down to communication, like terrible CRM management.
Yep.
Where no one internally is talking to each other, and there's like, or you'll have someone who's put the same company name in 3 different ways, just so they can get the account.
Or my name is suddenly Dave, or Peter. Or
Yeah, what was that
Alan.
about? So explain this email. So someone sent you an email calling you Dave.
Yeah, I get a number of name changes. I mean, I don't hold to
But
pronouns.
to your email,
Oh yeah.
is your email dave@companyx.com? Like, what is... So where did Dave come from?
It's a good question. I'm going to go for a copy and paste approach to sending out sales emails to people. And it's all very well because you've got your mail list, but you're going to need to remember that, I'm not really Dave, nor am I Peter.
Did the email find you well?
Oh, that's another one. I know how much that winds you up. They always find me well. I'm superlative 9 times out of 10.
What about best regards? How does that sit with you?
No one uses that.
I like using warmest regards.
But I don't...
That really messes with people.
You don't do that in real life.
And
That's
here we
the
go.
thing.
He's gone again.
You know that one? That's put me in. Like, we're not going to finish this sitting here and go, I really enjoyed that chat. Right, I've got to go. Best regards. No one talks like that. It is definitely one of
Best
the...
wishes?
Oh,
Whose wish?
best wish for what? Just
How about take care?
there you go. I just think when things are a lot more human, when you speak to somebody and when it's so formal, I can't trust it
Okay.
because no one talks like that.
I do.
No,
I walk away sometimes and go, all the best. And off you
that's okay.
It's all right. All the best is good.
But best regards.
No. That does sound rather formal, but that's written communication.
No.
Okay, so you want the written communication to represent the spoken communication. Has to be
I
identical.
want to see a bit of personality behind something.
Got it.
Because that's the thing, you can always tell when something is copied and pasted or it is something you don't really mean it.
Well,
you just
aside
add
from
a-
the obvious,
Yeah.
Dave.
Dave, Peter.
But even on the automated stuff with the high first name and stuff, sometimes they get that wrong and it's
that's
high
brilliant.
first name.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that. And how did they know my real first name was actually first name?
There are so many ways that it could go horribly wrong for you. And there's no magic
me,
formula.
For me, it always goes wrong for me.
That's because you're a terrible person.
That is true.
That's not true.
No, that is true.
Okay, I was giving you credit.
No, you don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
You've broken him.
He knows.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So the community is strong, right? And when it comes to, it keeps going back to this one word, relationship. And that's what most of us actually stick with, is the relationship one. The ones that take time to build with us. And the ones that they're not retained. Whether I stay where I am now or I move on to a new role, those relationships are retained. That matters. So if you're going to sell to our level, first of all, there's a number of things. I am not the be-all and end-all. You talked about the C. The C means different things in different companies. To some companies, a CISO is a CISO. To others, it's a head of cybersecurity, a head of information security. We are not all created and made equal. Our roles all vary. And, even as a CISO, I'm not going to make decisions in isolation of the individuals along, the pipeline that help me to implement and operate security solutions. First-line teams. Sometimes some of us don't own them. Why would I stand in isolation and make a decision without consulting with the individuals who will actually be running and operating these things? So sometimes it's not even necessary to get to me. It's the CISO is not the be-all and end-all when it comes to actually the money, the budget, and the final decision. It took 6 months for us to get to a point where we selected our MDR vendor, and there were 12 of us involved in that process internally. So sometimes you don't have to go to the top echelons, so to speak.
I suppose that's the old adage that people buy from people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what the badge is behind that person, it's how they treat you as an individual, right? And how they treat your wider team. So not just you, but actually your wider team's important because they're the ones who are helping making that decision.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm known for not being a heavily technical based, CISO. But I have a technologist on my team
Yeah.
who is always doing research. And I do my own research. I have to. It's the industry we're in. It's forever evolving. It's never quiet. I'm always reading. And if there's something I read about a new piece of technology, I'll bounce off my technologist and say to him, right, what do you think of this? I was thinking. And my castles in the sky, they'll either become a reality because us non-techies can sometimes think outside the box because we don't think within the constraints. And the technologist will say, like it. Or no, there's just no way we could field that with what we're building with our infrastructure. We don't just make autonomous decisions unless you're supremely good, and there are some very, very good CISOs out there that are highly technical. They'll do it.
Or an egotistical maniac.
We're a pretty egotistical group. I think it's part of our makeup. The CISOs.
The maniac bit?
No,
No.
solid people, just big egos.
Do you get a lot of time from people internally asking you questions or saying we want to do this or we want to do it? Because I know there's a lot of tech teams that say, right, we've got this idea, this is what we're going to do, and they'll bring that to you.
Yes, we encourage them to, absolutely. It's. I love perspective. That's a very personal thing. I love perspective. I wish I knew everything. Who doesn't? But I don't. And perspective is really healthy because it shows you an avenue you're probably blind to.
Yeah.
We all have a bias that we all think according to. So yeah, I absolutely encourage our teams to do that.
So when you land in a new role in a new organisation, how do you go about fostering that? How do you go about building that? What's your first port of call when you're...
Well, so each company differs, and it depends on the maturity of the organisation from a security standpoint, and B, your own security function, the maturity. If you're a greenfield, you're going to have to start, first of all, building out your team. And I'd say people that really help me very quickly, believe it or not, are the executive assistants and PAs. So if I'm going to be having board, if I'm going to have to be reporting to the board, the EAs and PAs are critical to me in helping me understand who the board members are and what kind of people they are. The maturity helps me to understand the narrative that I'm going to be framing with regards to how I build out the strategy. Are they going to want operational metrics? Are they going to want to see the maturity evolution on the CMMI? And it's been my experience in boards that have not got a high maturity in security, they're comfortable with that. But each company is different. Ian, it just depends on the requirement. If I'm moving into a more established and mature, then I normally do a lot of homework myself for the first month. I figure out what does the architecture look like, what does the tech stack look like. Within that stack, where are we? Can I optimize because I don't want to spend too much money? You have a look at the risk profile. It all differs. Each company is unique in its own right. And
would you go as far as what Manny offered earlier on with the value of showing somebody maybe their exposure? Would you go as far as those techie bits, or maybe hire somebody to do those techie bits of what's exposed for that company on the internet? Or?
You ask first of all if those tests have been done recently. Yeah. When was the last time you did the following? The scans, the tests, the depth of your testing. Did you go full red team, blue team, purple? I don't even know what the color is anymore. And if they haven't done within the last year, then yeah, absolutely, it's one of the first things I'll do is pull that in. And you don't deal with each one in isolation, right? You're doing everything in parallel. So they'll start running those tests. You'll have if you hopefully have your risk matrix or your risk profile and your risk register with, if you're really lucky, risk thresholds and appetites assigned to that. And you're offsetting and trying to collate all of that. And then really the most important thing for me is my leadership team. How strong is this team? And then you ask them for their insights. What matters? What are the problems? What are the things that they really should be focusing on in the here and now? What matters to them? You're coming in blind. These people matter, and you're going to have to build them up, and they're going to have to hold you. So the leadership team is key as well with that.
Would that be a deal breaker for going somewhere if you thought the leadership team was shaky anyway? Or would you see that as a challenge?
Personally, no, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. I would use it as a challenge. But, you'd have to understand why is the team challenged? What's the context? And then take it from there.
I want to throw another C word in. Not that one.
You've been creative. Oh, yeah.
Culture. I see a lot of people offering culture in a box at the moment, right? It seems to be the de rigueur.
What does that mean?
I don't really know, but when they talk about building culture for things like awareness, right?
Okay.
So let's build an awareness culture, but here's a box, here's a software product that we can help you. So for me, culture again is all about personality, it's all about relationships.
Yep.
I think anybody who doesn't fully understand that shouldn't be in that leadership business anyway, right? You know, and I think a lot of culture is driven from the top down by the leaders. How do you go about building that within your organisation?
So the first thing is to understand the corporate culture, okay, and what's the level of awareness around the security, the topic of security, their knowledge of security. If it's very flat, in other words, there isn't a strong culture of security, no amount of training is going to help you in this, right? You're just going to take something that very few people are aware of and have very little understanding and try and train them. They're just not they won't be able to contextualize what you're trying to achieve.
It takes time as well.
Correct. So first of all, raise their awareness. We did it. We used the culture where I work is young, dynamic, and very cool. So we went with an anime platform. And also that transfers across cultural borders as well. So we have China, we have the US, the anime worked well. We also did focus groups with the respective regions, a group of end users. How did they feel? Loved it, right? For a year, we raised the bar on the awareness. In other words, just built up the knowledge of our end users so that they could actually contextualize the training we were going to give them. And only once we'd absolutely engaged with that end user group, and we knew that they were fully engaged with security to the point where they were ready, and that took 14 months. Then we started to look at what platform would add value here from an education standpoint. Culture's everything. It'll make or break your ISMS, the corporate culture. So yeah, I think it's one of the key things to consider. And that's also something, since we're talking about a day in the life in sales and that sort of thing, it's also something the salespeople need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Right? What kind of company are you selling into? What's the need? I mean, there's that movie called Robots. It was done ages ago. See a need, fill a need. Mm-hmm. Okay, it was a kid's movie. But it sticks with me even in our industry. You're selling to people, they have a need. What is that need that you need to accommodate and sell to? Again, humanize it. Don't treat me like that target.
Yeah, you have to understand the person.
And the company.
It is the thing, that's one thing that was sort of drummed into us when we were younger. And it's that people hate to be sold to, but we like buying stuff.
We like buying on our terms.
Yeah. And I've done that. I've gone into a phone shop, so there's literally one thing I'm there for, and left with nothing because that salesperson's annoyed me. And I've seen it happen to a few people. Like, you go to buy something, you don't like the salesperson, you don't like the shopping experience, so you leave.
Yep. So I feel like we're very dry. We're not, laughing enough. This has become so intense.
We're intense people.
Well, he's
especially if you get the emails wrong, then I'm intense. I mean, who does that?
He's still holding on to it.
She doesn't. I told you about this before. She's like that. So just relax.
I just wanted to mention. No.
Just relax, okay?
Didn't just want to. You did already.
Come on, Dave.
You're still doing it.
Come on, first name.
Yeah.
So, as well as the research network, talking to your peers, what other stuff do you use? What other stuff is in your armoury to find out whether this is you've spoken about your internal people, getting them involved. What are the go-to things that you use to start forming that opinion? Anything else that
around a technology?
Yeah.
Okay.
Technology or a service?
So there are various blogs that you can look into.
Blogs or bloggers?
Bloggers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be both as well, because I've looked at them and trying to look at anything new. So when we used to get vendors come and speak to us, my first thing to do is, right, let me go and research, let me see what the internet says.
Yeah.
And so I try not to read anything that's written by a vendor, because a vendor's not going to go, we're okay. It's all right, it's not bad. Quite pricey, doesn't get a management tool with it, but other than that, it's not bad. You're not going to get that. So I try and find anyone else and just read a whole bunch of them and see what points consistently come up.
Yep.
Because a lot of stuff you're not going to know until you put your hands in it, are you?
Yeah.
No, that's true, but how easy is that to do now with the money that some vendors spend on SEO, even to own the bad stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're looking at the Gartner and the Forrester reports, because a lot of people do that as well, the evaluations, you've got to balance it all out. One of the things I like to do is I look for the pitfalls. So everybody was talking about SASE, and raving about SASE and the concept of SASE, etc., and all the positives. I honed in on the negatives, so I can try and get a balanced view, and that's what a lot of us do. We don't look at just one side of this. We have to look at both sides to see where the challenges come, and then you look at who's written about the challenges. Touch base with them directly. Ask them questions. Where were your hardest hit lessons learned? And that gives you insights as well, so you'll know where the pitfalls are. It can't just be that one-sided narrative that you're reading from the Gartner and the Forresters, where there's a lot of hype around the technologies and the solutions without seeing the counterpoint to that. And that, honestly, for me, that's always the bit that catches me. That's why now I've learned to look at the pitfalls first, because that's where you can tell me that this is going to make my life so much easier. Every time we've tried to implement a solution, it's the unknowns, the small things that then catch you off guard. Well, if you're retaining, management of your own firewalls, you didn't tell us that when we sold this to you. That's going to change the dynamic. You're going to have to do this. What do you mean I'm going to have to pay to have the SIG files automated? Shouldn't you be able to do that? No, you're going to have to manually do it because you're maintaining it. No, things like that. And then you spend another 30 grand having to automate something that really you would think would be straightforward. Those sorts of examples, that's why we look at the pitfalls as well. So, blogs help because they're pretty candid and they're from the coalface and they're experiential. This is something that I've experienced. This is what I've tried to do. Some of them are anonymous for obvious reasons, but they do give you a good insight.
And how about the vendors that start the conversation off by rubbishing the competition? What do you think about that as an approach?
I'm not a fan.
No, I agree. I think that's wildly inappropriate, and that's coming from me. And that's my role. If I wouldn't do it, then it must be really bad.
It doesn't sit, as a person, it shows up for me a lack of integrity.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I'm not comfortable with it at all. I don't think that's the way you go about it. You don't diss your competition to make yourself look better. That's not great behavior.
No.
So, no, not a fan. Don't do it. And be careful when you do that. Because whilst you're, bigging yourself up, and I saw this happen recently, and then something happens and an acquisition takes place and you suddenly get pushed to the side when you were supremely confident of your position and now you're not. You don't look good. So be very careful about, doing that with your competition. Just don't burn bridges in
I thought you were going to say blow your own trumpet then, and I'm one vertebrae away from being able to do that.
Are you? I heard you were gifted. I hadn't realised you were that gifted. Wow.
You said it was dry, right? You said it was dry. We had to moisten it up a little bit.
Well, I'm satisfied with that, thank you.
He's like me. I'm a child. Whenever I heard words like moist or wash, I'm gone. My wife looks at me and she's like, grow up.
I can't.
I've gone.
I really struggle with it. Any sort of funny word, I really. I'm fighting
you can
it
make
now.
an innuendo out of anything, can't you?
Even the word innuendo.
You're not difficult to wind out, are you? Fantastic.
Oh, dear me. So, in wrapping up, what have we learned here today?
I don't know. Did we learn anything?
Did we learn anything? I think we've learned there's a game in here somewhere.
Okay,
There's CISO
absolutely.
bingo in here, definitely. CISO spam bingo.
CISO bingo is definitely the one.
Yeah. It'll be out for Christmas, folks. It will be out for Christmas.
Do you know what? I think for me, the biggest lesson is the relationships matter.
Yeah.
Internal, external, because even if you think the relationships you have from your management team that sit below you, if you have a bad relationship with them, and then they bring you something that could be the best thing in the world, because you don't have a good relationship with them, you might not take it as seriously because you're thinking, I don't like you, so the message that you're delivering, I'm not the biggest fan of it. And we find a lot of that within comedy. If you're liked, it's a lot easier to be funny. And you can get away with saying a lot more because people already like you. If you come on stage and people go, I don't like him, like when they see Ian, it's a lot harder. You can have the best point in the world, but people aren't really open to hearing it. So that's the main thing for me. I've always found that relationships are really what's going to not just get you through the door, but keep you there with that person.
Don't look at me, I'm not sorry. I have feelings as well, you know.
They've got like 8 feelings.
So I think, so the relationship is key. We started off by filtering out the noise. If you are part of the noise, you become white noise. You just become a part of it. You're going to be invisible to me. You're not going to get through.
Yeah.
But you build that relationship over time. You sustain it. That has a long game in it, and you will get something out of that. But, modern day sales tactics, from what I can see, don't engender that. They want the instant gratification. No.
I've always found that a good relationship is one that benefits both parties.
That's profound.
Right?
But totally, agreed.
And they can put that in an email and not be upset about it as well.
Okay. As long as I don't start it off with, best regards.
I'll never speak to you again.
Okay.
Hope you get hacked.
He's a charmer, this one.
Your message again. I just want to let you know that we've been hacked. I'll text back, good.
And now you realise why he's never in sales anymore. He had to get out of sales. They ran him out. Comedy was the only thing left.
Oh, really?
It was the only thing left.
How's that working out for you?
Really good. Seriously, we had a vendor come in, and this is how it really broke me, and because everyone in the office obviously takes everything seriously. It's a workplace. And we had a vendor come in, and it was an email vendor, and the solution that they were dealing with was a solution that allows you to retrieve your email without the other person knowing, and keeping control of that email once it's been sent out. But the main thing was retrieving the email, because you could do that anyway with Office.
Yes.
But annoyingly, it lets the other person know that you're trying to retrieve the email. So this could, even if you'd read it, I could still put it back and you couldn't see it anymore. Great bit of kit. But he referred to the process of when you accidentally type someone's name in wrong and it auto-populates and you hit send before you've really read it. He referred to that as fat fingering. And I lost my mind. I was just sat there. And everyone else is going, and he goes, so when you do, everyone's done a bit of fat fingering before. And I was just is no one else hearing this? Is this just me?
Did you ask that question out loud?
Oh no, I was like, can we please change the names? I'm going to the toilet. I can't deal with this.
I get it when somebody says, well, no, we're going to have a 3-way. Yeah, Helen. Are we? as in a conversation? Yes. Okay. That always does that one for me. So,
I think that's probably a good place to end the podcast on, isn't it?
This has been fun. Thank you, gentlemen.
Fat fingering and fisting.
Fat fingering and e-fisting. E-fisting. Put the E in front of it.
I can just see faces saying, there's going to be so much editing here.
It's unfiltered. This is what we do.
Oh. Okay, then.
It was nice you having a career, but we've ended it for you
Yeah, thank you
today.
so much for that. And
absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming and spending some
You're
time with us.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming along, Helen.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it.
So to speak.
Thank you for joining us today on TLC Unfiltered. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, best regards.
Warmest wishes.
Yes, warmest regards.